Hi, I'm Coach Daniel, and if you want to sleep amazingly well for the rest of your life, this channel is for you. In this episode, we're going to look at a brand new model that explains better than anything I've come across how insomnia happens and how to get past it. We're going to see how trouble sleeping leads to an increased desire for sleep, which leads to more trouble sleeping, etc. And we're going to see how you want to work on the trouble sleeping part, but you have to work on the desire part to get amazing sleep. Welcome to Insomnia Insight number 324. I'm super excited about this episode because I have some really fresh ideas that I hope you will find really helpful. In fact, quick background, some of you tuned in for Talking Insomnia number 24, where I talked to Tash, and during that conversation, it became clear to me that she was in this position where she really wanted to sleep more because she felt so tired during the day, and that desire to sleep more fed her insomnia. If you listen to that episode, you hear me talk about like a chicken egg situation there. And today, when I was driving home from work, this model kind of came to mind, and I think it is really helpful. So let's get right to it. I called it the cycle of sleep. And before we get started with it, I want to briefly touch on something I talk a lot about, which is, thinking about that friend, family member, spouse or whoever it is that sleeps really well, and think about what they do to sleep. Think about asking them what they do to sleep so well, and you will hear that answer, I don't know, I have no idea, which is the truth. The reason they sleep so well is the lack of effort, the lack of attention, etc. Just keep that in mind as we talk about this model. So in this model, there are just there's just two parts of it. And this is why I love it. It's so simple. So there's two parts of it. And I called it trouble here for trouble sleeping. And down here we have desire. And I left a little mark here where we're going to put a number from 0 to 5, where 0 is no trouble sleeping or no desire, and 5 is a lot of trouble sleeping, and 5 is a lot of desire to sleep. And when I say desire, it is not, everybody wants to sleep well, of course, but when I talk about desire in this model, is that kind of daily thinking about, like, I really want to sleep, I wish I could sleep, etc. That type of desire for sleep. So when someone is sleeping well, the number for trouble sleeping is 0. And the number for desire to sleep is also 0. This is somebody who is that friend of yours again who sleeps really well. They don't think about sleep. They have no trouble sleeping, etc. It's a great model. Nothing's going on. They're sleeping well and they're feeling well, and there's nothing going on in their sleep thinking and in their sleep world, if you want to call it that. Now, here's the thing. Two things can happen to disrupt this nice yin and yang situation. And it could either be that you start having trouble sleeping, disturbed sleep, or that your desire for sleep increases. Either one of them could actually be the first thing that happens. Most commonly, it is the former. It is that you start having trouble sleeping for some reason. This could be that you're the mom to a newborn child and you have to be up all the time. It could be that you have gone through menopause and you're having these night sweats that disrupt your sleep. It could be that you had a health scare. It could be that you have general anxiety that spilled over into sleep. Anything can lead to a period of trouble sleep. So let's say that something happens and your score goes from 0 to a 1. Let's say that it's actually 1 here. Let's call it 1. And what can then happen is that that may or may not trigger something here on the other front, on the desire front. So let's say you had some trouble sleeping for some reason, your sleep was disturbed for some reason, but it doesn't trigger any change in your desire for sleep. You don't pay that much attention to it. You think, I'm kind of stressed now, that's why I'm not sleeping so well, but nothing changes on the desire part. Well, then the trouble sleeping will resolve. If it's something like, you have a newborn child, it may take a while, but as long as your desire doesn't go up, eventually the trouble sleeping will resolve, and you'll go back to this good model of 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Now, let's say, on the other hand, that something happens that triggers some trouble sleeping, and your number again goes up to a 1 here. And let's say your desire for sleep then starts creeping up. It goes up to a 1 here. Well, now you're thinking about sleep. Now you're wanting to sleep. You're trying to figure out what's going on with your sleep. You're a little bit, paying attention to your sleep. Well, then that feeds back to trouble. That gives you more trouble sleeping because, as we said in the beginning, you sleep really well when you're not producing any effort, you're not thinking about it, right? So now your trouble sleeping part here actually goes up to a 2, right? And then guess what happens with the desire part? That goes up to a 2 as well. And then then we go. Now we have the spiral of like increasing effort, increasing attention, more trouble sleeping, increasing effort, etc. And for those of you new to the channel, what are these things that come from increased desire? That is, trying the valerian root, the melatonin, the medications, the supplements, the meditation techniques, all that stuff, right? And we circle and circle and circle until in the extreme case, and that happens sometimes, you hit like the turbo thing here where you have like absolutely no sleep at all. And your desire for sleep is just huge. Some people come to this channel in that state of like absolute desperation. Your desire has hit the roof and you sleep almost nothing, right? So that is how the first model develops when you start having trouble sleeping. But guess what? If we rewind here and go back to the original model, everything is good. We have a 0 up here. We have a 0 down here. This can start from the desire part too. And it could be somebody who's sleeping really well, but reads a book that says, you got to get 9 hours of sleep. Otherwise, you're going to have all these health issues. Guess what happens there? The desire increases. They're starting to want to sleep more. And that can, again, it often does increase your trouble sleeping. And then the cycle begins, on and on it goes. And once the cycle has begun, then you may no longer have a 6-month-old baby. You may have a 2-year-old kid that sleeps well now. And the cycle feeds of itself. Same thing here, the desire thing. You may actually have read now that you don't need 8-9 hours of sleep. You're fine if you get much less. There's no health issues with little sleep. But the cycle has started going. So that's that's the explanation for ongoing insomnia. And now the teaching point here, apart from, I think this is super important to understand that, but to really, focus in on the actionable takeaway here, what can you learn from this? Well, here's the thing. When you're in this cycle, then your natural instinct is going to be to focus on the trouble sleeping. You're going to be thinking, okay, the way I break this cycle is I sleep better so that I no longer desire to sleep so much. So I sleep even better so I no longer desire to sleep so much, etc., etc. The problem there is that you cannot produce sleep. You cannot do something to make yourself sleep. Sleep is a passive process. So you have to work on the desire part. You have to decrease your desire for sleep to get better sleep, so your desire for sleep decreases more, etc., etc. Which begs the question, if I'm hardly sleeping at all, how can I decrease my desire to sleep? I'll give it to you. It's not easy. That's really, really tricky. But that's why I hope this model will help, because when you understand this, I think that understanding itself will be helpful. Even more practical here, how do you decrease the desire for sleep? I think it is really education, learning things like, how much people sleep in general. It might be less than you think. There are no health issues with little sleep. Learning about sleep efforts, that everything you do to try to produce sleep, produce more insomnia, etc., etc. And once you get to a point where you understand all this, you can take that first step and go to and say, you know what, everything doesn't hinge upon sleep, and decrease your desire a little bit and start reversing the cycle until you end up where you want to be, which is no trouble sleeping, no desire for sleep, and sleep amazingly well for the rest of your life. I hope this episode brought a lot of value to you. If you have any questions, then please send them to questions@thesleepcoachschool.com. If you find everything you need to sleep really well in these episodes, in these videos, then nothing would make me more happier. If you want to work with me, if you want to have a curated curriculum and have a more laid out path towards sleeping really well, then do check out BedTyme with the Y on the App Store. I look forward to hearing with you and hope to see you back here real soon. Until then, take it easy.